Hello! Back again. There's my head. Okay. Time for stream 2 of today. Hopefully this is going out. It looks like it is. And Chicago's Railroad Productions, you're riding a train, I'm guessing, at the moment, because you just pulled into Menlo Park. Ah, there's that Caltrain man for you. So there's a question. If you're Chicago's Railroads Videos and Photography Productions, but you're riding a train in California. Okay. I haven't been to California since 2019, pre the giant lurgy that took over the world and destroyed everything and brought zombies. But anyway, all good. We are having a look at the Mount Shasta line, which runs from Dunsmuir to, I'm going to say Klamath or Klamath Falls, something like that. And it has two locomotives. It has the EMD SD40T-2, so it's a tunnel motor, I suppose, so it doesn't poison people when it's going through tunnels, and the EMD SD9. I think I've got a different radiator set up, the tunnel motors as well, so they don't overheat. And you're doing, and Chicago's does TSW2 videos and rail fanning as well. Hello, NJTE. Welcome back. So, without further ado, what I'm going to get into is Portland Trailers Part 1, because it shows off what I think is the coolest part of the route. And then we'll run that local. Now, I'm not going to run the whole thing of either of them, because, frankly, we'd be here forever.
I agree. I ran this last night.
Oops, and despite the fact I have brakes on, I'm rolling backwards. And I was set up from, let's jump in the cab, and I was set up from before for the steam loco, so it started rolling backwards. Okay. Brakes off. Let's go for some power. Notch 2 will probably do it, I think, for the moment. And I've learnt I'm not going to turn on the gyro lights because they're really annoying. No, I haven't changed the sounds because being a Dovetail ambassador, I really should run this the way it's going. Hey, work train, you're meant to go after me, not before. Alright, let's give it some more juice and get out before him. Yeah, powering up a bit.
He'll stop at the light up ahead, so it's good.
Oh yeah, that's right. This train's enormous, isn't it? Forgot about that. It's going to take a little bit to get it moving. Are my headlights on? No. Alright, rail driver can't turn the headlights on. That's interesting. Let's do it this way then. Oh, that's right, because I turned off blooming. Yes, rail driver had turned it on. It's okay. I saw them have an effect on the track then. Bright. Stay on bright. Now, up here there's a gyro light, which you can turn on if you want to. You won't see much because, again, I turned off blooming, but you'd see the effect if I turned on the motor, which makes it move. One thing I did discover is that if you turn this on, oops, if you succeed in turning... So close. There we go. Makes the light wiggle around all over the place. Fair enough. And you can see the strange artifact I've got up in the top right-hand corner. Just saying that's not the route. It's just something that's been happening the last couple of NVIDIA drivers. But I did notice that one thing I couldn't do is actually turn this control off. So once it's on, you've got it forever. That's okay. So we're heading out of the yard. Let's pop on a HUD so we know what we're doing. Gradually speeding up here. At this end of the route, we are sitting way down here at Dunsmuir in this yard. That's our rather large train there, the red snake. And there's that little work train that's sitting there. And we're going to be heading up through the mountains. I'll just zoom out a little. Until we get to these really cool horseshoes. And I'm looking forward to how much you can actually see as we go through there. So we shall keep playing. I love that you can see through the loco. That's really cool. I think I've seen a few other locos do that, but not that many. I think this is done quite nicely. And I know Chicago said that there's a sound patch. I did blow the horn, but I don't think it actually went out on the stream, because it was kind of before I got into it. And we've got a grade crossing coming up, I think. Am I game to sit here long enough to find out if the grade crossing opens? Yes, I am. Even though we're going a bit fast already, we're starting to climb a pretty serious gradient, so we're not going to get too fast. It's a long train, isn't it? But anyway, this one comes from Milepost Simulations. And I'll read some text out of the manual. So it's the Black Butte District from Dunsmuir, California to Klamath Falls, Oregon, and it's set in 1983. So it's hard to believe for someone who kind of came out of high school and went into uni in that era that was, you know, just about almost 40 years ago. That's scary, isn't it? But anyway, and it's Southern Pacific. It's predominantly 2%. The gradients, or just the highest gradient. There's a double horseshoe that we saw on the map before, climbing out of the Sacramento River Valley before it crosses the lava flows. No, those gates opened and closed again, didn't they? I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. I'm sure they did that. Did they do that? I'm sure they did. Oh well. We just...
It never happened.
They did that.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, it has all sorts of freight traffic. Lumber products are the most common thing, but we haven't seen any lumber. We've seen trailers, we've seen some open flats, which could be for lumber. And we have got some hoppers of some kind, enclosed hoppers. Who knows what they're carrying? Oh, we might as well go back to our train since... since we know the gates just open and close. And this valley is, I have to say, actually quite impressive from a nature perspective. It looks quite nice. It's been done relatively well. You can see Mount Shasta up there in the distance. And this end of the Sacramento River, I have to say, is much cleaner than the other end of the Sacramento River. So this route's still in use today. And it links California with the Pacific Northwest. And it does have an Amtrak train, but the Amtrak train is not included in this pack. So looking at what is included in the pack, we have got two locomotives. There's the SD40-2, which is the one we're driving at the moment. Panic started the sequence just slightly early then. A bit hesitant about notching down because our speed's pretty steady, but we're edging towards going too fast. Yeah, so I was just looking at the manual. My guess was right that the tunnel motors have a different cooling system so that they work better in tunnels, so they don't overheat. And apparently the differences between this and the normal SD42, you'd think I'd know this because I kind of like the SD40s. Actually built models of them. Is that the air intakes are located down low. So they don't suck their own exhaust into their cooling system, in other words. So those big empty patches that I admired before saying, hey, that's nice that you can see through this thing, that's them. And there's a lot of interactive things in this one. Let's just jump into the cab. So control-wise, you can manually move your windscreen wipers if you want to, including the ganged ones over here. Doesn't look like you can operate the emergency valve from here. Let's just pop back to our normal position. I think some of the buttons work. Yep, stop, start. Looks like that switch is tagged out. No, just instructions. Okay. And some of the switches and things work. And you can open the windows. And I think, oh, look at that. So this loco is one of those rare ones that you can both open them and close them. Often you can open them and not close them. Can't do the doors by the look of things. That's cool. So we're heading up through the mountains with our Gyro Light gyrating away happily like a 1950s go-go dancer.
Might be able to turn that off. Just looking.
Oh, you can turn off the light, but once you've started the motor going, I haven't been able to stop the motor. Now, the other thing I noticed before I turned off headlight bloom in my options was that all the locos have their headlights on, which was something I couldn't seem to control that. And the other locomotive you get's the SD9E, but we'll have a look at that later on. You get a lot of rolling stock with this route. We have a gratuitous bridge shot coming up, so let's go and deal with that. Whee! That's a nice angle. Let's get rid of the HUD. I have no idea how you'd go about doing better whitewater, but to me the whitewaters are a little bit lacking. But like I said, I don't know how you'd go about doing something better, so I have no idea what's really possible. See, from a distance it looks okay, I guess. Because if you just look in the mid-screen left-hand side there, that looks alright. Maybe it's only when you're up close it doesn't look so hot. Just following our train sneaking through the mountains here. This train's probably not a bad indicator of what you do actually get with this route. It's probably got all of it on it. Let's just come up here a bit, somewhere we can watch the train from. Oops, there's a signal there. Let me just make sure that's green. I've gone out of the world. It's not even a signal for me. It's all good. No problem, it's facing the other way. So we'll watch the train from here. This would be a good spot. And the stuff you get with it, you get a Southern Pacific box car, which we've seen in that train. You get a bulkhead flat car, which we've also seen some in this train, but they are empty in this one. They're normally covered in timber, sawn timber. There's a caboose, which is a bay window style. And you get covered hoppers. We saw those. There are flat cars. And some black tank cars, PLCX I think they are. Trailer cars, we've got those, and we've got these box cars as well. And there's wood chip cars somewhere in, I haven't seen any in this train yet. Let's just see how we're going on the map to make sure we don't miss our horseshoes. No, we're coming into them, so let's go back up the front. So one of the horseshoe tracks is right up near the top of that ridge. So I should be able to fly up there, I guess. Should be up here somewhere. There it is. So soon we'll be looking all the way down there. So you can see our train down there. We're going to be coming up on this track. So it's quite a gradient change. And I think if we keep going, here's the next level. So I think this is about as high as I can get game-wise. But you can certainly see the scenery starting to change if you come into the high country. There's another train waiting up there for us. But architecturally, from a railroad perspective, this is quite amazing. Very cool. Oh well, let's pop down the bottom and join our train again. I'm starting to slow down a little on this gradient. Let's give it a bit more beans. It's stopped believing my rail driver, so I'll do it by hand. That happens sometimes when you pitch away from the game, so it won't be anything to do with this route. It's just the game itself. No, it's not believing the rail driver at all. That's fine. We'll go by hand for the rest of it. If I can remember how. So what might have stopped is the rail driver software may have crapped itself out. Yep, there we go. That's the rail driver software. Now, if that was run 8, accidentally unapplying all my notches and then reapplying them like that, I would have snapped a couple of them from the slack action. Just catching up with the chat while I was reading through the manual things, rudely ignoring you all. Chicago asked, did I change the sounds for the locos? No, I haven't. Not for this one. And yes, the crossing popped up. And yes, I was speeding. Doing better now. But I reckon as a dispatcher, you'd want to be pretty careful of the power on this because this just climbs and climbs and climbs. And I think going up, pretty straightforward. Just keep the power on. Should be right, mate. Going down, I'm tipping, would be just a little more interesting. So you're going to be trying to hold your train on dynamics coming down with the occasional dip into your air brakes. And Chicago does point out that the Coast Starlight runs through here. It does indeed. I've actually ridden it through here. It's a really cool run if you're in the US or visiting, and you want to ride an Amtrak train. The Coast Starlight and the Coast Daylight. I'm not actually sure the Coast Daylight still runs, but the Starlight definitely does. It's a really good run. It's quite enjoyable. The only thing that's a little bit sad about it is the best of the mountain scenery happens at night time. It would be better if that bit was during the day and you got into Oakland at night time. Just saying. But anyway. What else we could go? Chicago asked which other locomotive overheats a lot and then followed it up with the P42 DCs, since they're equipped with emergency heating systems when the engine overheats. Oh, that's interesting. And Chicago's friend has written the Coast Starlight. Certainly encourage it if you get the chance. It's not even all that expensive, to be honest. It's not too bad. I turned off the headlight blooming deliberately, because if you have it on... I think you can turn it on in the options from here, can't you? Oops, no, I don't want to go in the world editor. You donkey. Anyway. No, you can't turn it on in here. I thought you could turn it on here, but you can't. Continue. I'm glad we got away with going into the world editor then. It's always a little bit chancy going into the world editor when you're actually driving. But we got away with it. Yep, and NJTE exclaimed, ooh, a cotton belt boxcar.
On the dicey side.
Oh, yeah. He's got a little excited about the cotton belt car, but yes, they're there. I like that these wires to protect from rockfall are modelled, and in some places along the route there actually are rocks behind them too, which is kind of cool. So they're holding back some rocks, which is nice to see. And Chicago's talking about the F59 PHI, saying its braking sounds like an MP36. It's amazing how many different locomotive designations there are. So many different models. There's not many manufacturers, but so many models. I think I'd be right to say that across the US, Australia, UK and Germany, there's probably about 5 manufacturers, I would think. So Alstom, Siemens, GE, EMD. Who was the 5th? I forgot. There's a 5th one, but anyway. Bombardier. There you go. And it's not until you get out of those countries that you start getting into more manufacturers. But even then, a lot of them are made by those 5 and rebadged. Grade crossing coming. And in fact, let's just... Actually, no, it's a whistle for the bridge. It's not for the grade crossing. Oh, there is a grade crossing as well. It's over there. But what I want to do is I want to come over here. Where have I gone? Oh, messed it up. Alright, let's come up here, because watch the train double back on itself. You know, that's a lot of effort for a road that just ends there in the foreground. Just going to get rid of my head for a little while. Here comes the tail end of it. It's interesting that the box cars are open as they go across the bridge, and then the door draws in. And Chicago mentioned the fifth manufacturer being Alco. It's actually not who I was thinking of. There's a current one. Alco does actually still exist, sort of. Some other company bought them. So it's just an amazing gradient change in that shorter distance. Let's just check, make sure this signal is green. It is. Okay. So let's come up here on the curve somewhere. I wonder how long your train would have to still be down there. As you come up here in the high country, the trees tend to thin out, which is accurate. And Chicago says some engineers keep the bell on at stations. I think that's probably because they want to annoy people. I suppose it depends how quickly they're going to leave again. If it's a standard commuter station and they're there for about 20 seconds, you probably wouldn't bother stopping it. Looks pretty cool, winding its way through the country, sitting up on top of the Sacramento River. I would think keeping the loco bell running is a little bit like too many people wearing high vis. It becomes normal, so you'd start to ignore it. I know the company I work for in real life as my actual day job. Our high vis is now black with silver stripes because people see it and they don't see the oranges and yellows and pinks anymore. We're not too far off the next part of the horseshoe where we get to see our train from both ends again. So the big question in my mind is, if I make a scenario, how long do I have to make the train and how many locomotives do I have to put in it so that it's down there at the same time that it's coming through up here? You know I'm going to do it. I have to.
I'm sure someone's already tried.
Oh, you know I'm going to. I'm sure there'll be a video of that at some point in time. I don't know if I'll do it today. I've got some other stuff I have to do this afternoon, but you never know. Speaking of other stuff to do, the freestyle livery designer competition for TS2022, which is, I'm sure the idea is to get people to start building up their liveries for Creators Club when it releases. No one has said exactly when it's releasing, but it's ramping up, so I'm guessing it's probably a little bit soon, just purely as a guess. Now, let's see what these people have. What's their view from the train like? So it looks like they've got a nice house and a good old-fashioned double wide. Let's go and sit on the steps of the Bogan Hut and watch the train go by. We probably can't see it, can we? No. That wasn't worth it, was it?
Nope.
Alright, we'll just settle down here in this nice little dirt bit. This is a good spot. Because we should be able to see it. Oh, look at that, we already can. Good luck in GTE with Mini Metro. It's a fun game, isn't it? It's an eater of time. If you like Mini Metro, have a crack at Railroute. Not quite the same concept, but some similarities. You know, I thought in my head that I would shut up and let this come past, but then I failed. Lots of train. How did I spin a full 360 then? And somewhere over here. think now you've seen all the rolling stock that comes with it.
There's the wood chips.
Indeed. You reckon they taste like corn chips? Wouldn't want to be sitting at that grade crossing, would you? Because now it's blocked because that train just stopped.
Not really.
And if you thought those horseshoes were the end of the climb, there's a bit more to go. Now I'll run another 15 minutes of this scenario for the long freight fans, and then I will save it for myself so I can come back to it and finish it later. And we will swap over and run the local with the SD9. Because I have to say, from my perspective, I actually prefer that kind of railroading. I like local runs. And the cool thing is, this route's got both. So whichever way you like it, you can play it. That was trippy. I'm going to have to turn light blue and black on. You may notice the number of wires on the telephone poles there. That would have been quite accurate in the 80s. These days they run one, and it's probably a fibre, and it's most likely underground.
Most likely would be fiber optic too.
That's indeed correct. A huge, long glass and/or plastic extrusion. It would be nice to have the transition between the treed and non-treed a little more gradual. But I suspect that's a core thing in the game with the drawing distance rather than the route. I've driven over this bridge that's coming up. Looked like a New York taxi cab in California. Should be past that 40 sign by now. It should be safe enough to notch up the rest of the way. The scenery on this route's pretty cool. Good to see some trucks in the game. I don't think I've seen large trucks before in TS. messed that one up. Central Business District. Bates Motel. It's got that feel about it, doesn't it? With the hotel and the house above it. Some kind of big business that's migrated in from somewhere more expensive. And some nice line side stuff. Of course it's a Denny's. Pretty sure the real one's a Denny's, but anyway. That's okay. Lots of sidings to mess around with for making your own scenarios, which is cool. The town must love hearing that at 3 o'clock in the morning. Half a dozen locomotives rumbling through in knot shape, honking their way through town. And amazingly, we are still climbing. back into single track. Better make sure these are green. Yep. Hello, Cheyenne. The logo in the bottom left-hand corner of the video should give you a clue. And welcome back, NJT. Just cruising our way through the mountains. We've come up through the double horseshoes, which I have to say I'm really happy with. I'm actually quite looking forward to running a freight in the opposite direction, because I reckon this gradient's going to be quite fun going the other way. Going this way, it's not as much of a challenge as it could be, because you basically just set your power and off you go. We haven't gained any miles an hour for quite a good 20 minutes now, so we're just sitting on this. But going the other way, that's going to be a very different story, trying to manage system dynamics. It's the odd road that starts and stops in the middle of nowhere, which is a little bit weird, but apart from that, I think the scenery is actually really cool. And it's quite nicely done. This bit feels like proper high country to me. We're not quite above the snow line yet, but we're not far from it. $1,500's pretty good, NJTE. If you weren't watching in the chat, NJTE's playing Mini Metro, which is it's a fun game. It can just eat the hours before you realise what's happened at 3 o'clock in the morning. And you go, oh, just one more go. I think there's a mobile phone version of it too, but I refuse to install that because I just never sleep. Green. Oh, we're finally speeding up. The gradient must be slackening off. I think San Francisco was the last one I unlocked in JTE. I suspect NJT Auckland's last just because it's the most recent one. Green. Which way are we going? Straight. I'm living a little dangerously here because I've never driven this part of the route before and I'm doing it without the HUD. There's a roller coaster of a road. How much fun would that be on a motorbike? I thought I'd pop the HUD back on since we seem to be coming into a yard. I do believe I see another train in the distance. Trams NJT, that's easy, it's Melbourne. But given it's not just trams, potentially New York. New York subway system is massive. I think it is one of the biggest ones in the world. Actually, they've got Moscow in the game too, don't they? That's pretty big too. If you've never looked at the Moscow subway, go look up some videos on YouTube. Every station is an art piece. How are we going on the map? Wow, we haven't even done a quarter of it. That is amazing. Ooh, that looks interesting. It's a loop. Okay, it's for a mine or something. Unless, of course, it's loading up beer. It's called the Cake Pit, after all. So how much further is this one going? So it's, what time do we think it is now? 10:17, 10:53, that's a fair way away. I might call this a good time to save this one and switch over to the local and start running a bit of that. just so we see something a little bit different. Does that sound alright for people? Well, it's 14 miles to the Andesite siding. And I'm still speeding rather a lot. Ah, what the hell. We'll take it to the end. Because it's not the end of the route, this one. We're just going into a siding, which is 14 miles away. And at the speed I'm doing, we're either going to derail or get there pretty quick. Although I am slowing down because the gradient's going up again. I think I might just grab another notch. Or two. Thanks, rail driver. Two it is. Since we've got the HUD on again, we might as well put that back on and prepare for ugly. Hey! Maybe I should put... Oops. Wrong thing to move. I need to move that. No one saw that, did they? No, that didn't happen. Never happened. It's a lot of effort for a little dirt road in the middle of nowhere. I kind of like to think that, based on videos I've seen of trains running through the middle of nowhere, probably the best you get's this. If they've got sight of the crossing. At least this scenario is not one of those ones that yells at you constantly and goes, "Ooh, you're a mile over the speed limit, minus 5 million points." So judging by the scenery, we're well and truly above the snow line now. So this should be a very cool run in winter. Probably a very slippery run too. I wonder how they keep it clear. Maybe they just run lots of trains. I don't think it came through on the stream because I think my low pass filter got rid of it, but there was a Black Hawk window rattler just flew over.
No, didn't hear anything.
Look at that drop. That's awesome. Going a bit quick, aren't we? Oh well. Let's live dangerously. The gradient subsided, but the curves did not, and I wasn't paying enough attention to the HUD. But it's not enough to derail, it's just enough to wear out the rails. We're actually on flat track. How amazing is that? One thing that's not modelled that well in the thing is this end would still be going up the hill. Wouldn't, might be on just coming onto the flat now, I think. The game doesn't do that well. I think we've reached a summit. We're starting to go downhill. We're about to. Should just turn off the HUD, then you wouldn't know I was going too fast. There's a little tank car sitting there all by itself. What's this for? No sign or anything explaining it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google that. Not throttling at all anymore and going a bit fast. Just a bit. Doesn't have a setup permission on the position on the dynamics. The dynamic brakes sound like a 747 spooling up to take off. But they're effective, they're working. Slowing us down a bit. Gratuitous bridge shot. Ooh, that's a pretty one. Okay, let's get rid of the HUD. Let's get rid of the face. Let's get rid of the rail driver. I'm too slow. Going up again. 7 miles. And we are climbing again. think it's only you and me left, Michael.
No, I'm still here.
I know you're still there, but I think it's just you and me. Oh no, there is a third person. YouTube stats. Reliable. Cool bananas. We're finishing once we arrive at Andesite, which is where? Still a fair way to go by the looks of things. Maybe it doesn't show on the map, because the scenario just ends there. Six miles. Oh, I see another gratuitous bridge coming up. You know what that means. It'll get here eventually. Big rail fan spot. Sometimes I have way too much fun.
Don't we all?
Yep. Another pretty cool little spot. Just check how far we've got to go. 4 mile. We can mess around for a little bit more. You can tell I'm making scenes for a promo video, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
That looks nicer. 2.5 miles. We're approaching a 20 zone. And there's our siding up there, I guess. I'll just notch back a bit and let gravity take care of it. So what does the engineer say when dispatch goes, well, we're just going to put you in the siding on the gradient, so you're going to have to slow right down. There's only one thing the engineer's going to say, and he's probably not pressing the transmit push to talk button when he says it. He or she, they, them, whoever. Yeah, we're definitely going into the siding. Where did I get all stretched out like that? Where does the siding end? We're not going in there. Fair way. So yeah, NJTE, hopefully you can come back. We'll be running the local when we finish this one very shortly. This is well and truly high country now, isn't it?
Yep.
So the question is 1 mile near the end of the siding? Yep, I reckon it's here. Right about where his red signal is.
Mm-hmm.
For the people that have just joined, we're going to be running this one until this signal where it stops. And then we're going to run the local freight just to get a bit of a different look at this route, because the local freight runs from the other end. So it'll give you the flavour of that end of the route too, without having to wait 4 hours for me to drive there. Because it's such a big route, since that train hasn't appeared around the corner yet. I mean, it's quite massive. So, yeah, take a while to drive. Just going for the dramatic stopping video. If the train ever actually gets here. These things take a long time at 15 mile an hour. Oh, here it comes. I'll shut up now. Well, that's it for this scenario, so we'll just let that finish its thing so the scenario actually gets done. Good. I can have my tick. And let's go and have a look. We're going to use the same route, but this time we're going to have a look at the Mcdowell turn part 1, which is with the SD9. So let's just get that coming into play. I won't run the whole thing, obviously, because that's rather a long one. And I've been going for rather a while. So, let's just... Where's my manual gone? So we're taking the Mcdowell turn as far as Doris and back. No traffic from Mcdowell today. We're first picking up your train at track 6. Well, I kind of know from experience where track 6 is, so I know we can just... Actually, you know what I will do? Just give me a tick, because I'm going to turn on the light blooming in the game so that we can actually see the headlights. Righto. I've just turned on light flares, which I kept calling light blooming. Now we'll actually have headlights that we can see when we turn them on. Woohoo! Much better. Okay, let's go. So, jumping into the SD9, it's a fairly Spartan sort of cab. No opening in the windows in this one. Oh yes, it's one of those. Right, now we'll be able to move. Oop, that flicked back. Is it going to let us move? Or is it just flick back? No, it flicked back. I don't want it to be on dynamic brake. I want it to be... I thought that was a notch selection lever for the kind that have 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe that's this one, but you can't move it. Alright. Reverser right, there we go. Didn't read the rail driver reverser the first time, that's what was wrong. I thought that left hand lever was like the GP38 where you had to select 1, 2 or B, but I guess not, and that's cool. Let's just make sure these points are actually all set. That one wasn't. We have to come all the way down here somewhere. That one's right. That one's fine. That one is now. And that one is now. Because our train is on one of those tracks. I think that's it. Because that's our train there, which is that track, which will be good. That little tiny train over there on the right. Kind of surprised we're allowed to do 25 in the yard through all these points, but hey, I'll go with the flow. So the SD9 is a much simpler model than the other loco that comes with the game. That's why I didn't have the flares on before. See, all the lights are on the SD40s. I could not find a way to turn them off. That flickering of water and other crappy effects you see there are not this route. It's just the game, unfortunately. It's punishment for having high resolution. Just for NJTE, who's gone, the bell's on. My brakes slightly up. There we go. So we're in Klamath Falls, which if you recall from the map is at the far end. So the rest of our journey today was all the way. We got to about there somewhere. So we're at the other end of the route now. Shouldn't you be looking back the other way, mate? Just saying. What about you? You don't care either. Do you care now? No. You? No. No.
No, you're doing it for him.
Yeah. I do think so. Did I get those points right? Yes, I did. You can see why I turned the flaring off. Because it's... that would be something they probably should address. Or at least make it clear how to turn them off. But given AI trains have the flaring as well and have all their lights on, I think it probably feels like a bug to me. He's standing up. Okay. Time to couple up. Now, we should wait a realistic time while they inspect the air and everything else, but this is Train Simulator. We don't do these things. Chicago Trains, you said there's a sound mod for this, but to me they don't sound that bad. Let's listen to them ramp up again.
Sound fairly decent.
Yeah, I thought so. Just turned off my head since this is a first look at the game. I need to see my head. Do you experience the flickering to vegetation or water to vegetation flickering, Michael? Or anyone else who watches this, put in the comments if you know a way to solve it. I'd love to get rid of it. It really irritates me. But it's definitely not the route, because it happens in other routes too. Not all of them, weirdly.
Paid attention to it. Haven't noticed it. Only one once.
It doesn't happen in all of them. So the fringe of water versus other things in the Sacramento Northern route, for example, it doesn't happen with that. It's a very cool bridge over there. Let's go have a look. Not that one. This one. Why can't I turn, mouse? There we go. It's a drawbridge, and I've managed to come out of the water. That's pretty cool. Wouldn't want to take your train over there when it was up. And I wish they animated it. That'd be awesome. But look at that. Isn't that pretty? Yellow signal? Does that mean the next one's red? We'll find out. Sometimes in American signaling it does, and sometimes it doesn't. We're only taking a tiny train out with us. So 3 wood chip cars and some box cars. It's a long run for a local. And yes, I know I'm speeding. We'll survive. Oop. Damn it. Wrong button. While we're cruising, so this is the SD9E. Let's just check that signal before I get too carried away and looking in the manual. Can't see it yet. Oops. That looks like a flickery green to me. Be all good. And a grade crossing coming up as well. Anyway, it's an EMD 1750 horsepower 6-axle, and it's a road switcher, which means it mucks around in the yard and it goes out on the road for short hauls. And apparently they were built from 1954 to 1959, and it succeeded the SD7, and it was essentially a long GP9. So there you go. GP9 having 4 axles. Kind of like we're cruising along in a swamp. There's a lot of water. Welcome back, Chicago. We're currently driving a SD9? SD9 or GP9? SD9. And we're cruising along on doing a local turn. And we're at the other end of the route from where we were before. So that speedboat, as big as their double wide. Taking this little tiny train, and we've got about 9.5 miles cruising along. And apologies for the flickering. It doesn't affect all routes, but it is just a thing in the game. I haven't found anybody with a solution to it. I think we just missed a Cadillac. So much water here, it makes me wonder if this area floods. That might be a fun thing to do for a scenario, to bring up the water level so it's near or even over the line. Glad we started with the other end of the route at the beginning of the stream, because I have to say this end is just a little less dramatic. flat and straight. It's the kind of route that makes me watch YouTube videos while I drive. But it is quite realistic, I imagine. Seeing endless nothing out of your train. All that effort and it wasn't even a road. Now we're getting a road. Must be getting a bit close to our destination by now, I would think. Halfway there. The landscape's getting a little less flat. I'm guessing those silos are probably where we're going, so I should probably start slowing down, I think. Better hope we're staying on the main or this is going to get exciting. Safe. Oh, it's a go via anyway. Silly individual. Let's have a look at our task list. What are we going to be doing? And we're going all the way to Doris straight away. We've got a bunch of stuff to do at Doris. Okay. So I didn't really need to slow down at all. So we'll try not to knock our man in the little caboose on the back on his rear. Slowly speed up again. What can we do in this cab? We can play with windscreen wipers. Can we open that? We can't yank that one, but we can yank that one. Don't know what that one does. Radio, can't operate that. You can operate the brakes if you want to. You can turn your cab light on. Turn your instrument lights on. number lights. Succeeded on that. Rear headlights? Oops, I just turned off my front headlights. Didn't mean to do that. Yep, grade crossing. Oh well, too busy. So there's a few things you can do in this cab. You can't open the windows. You open the door? No. It's a pity you can't open the windows. That would have been good. And the window's a bit dirty. It's hard to read the signals. And we can't even wipe our way clean. And yes, I know, a bit quick. Just pretend it's not happening. I'll turn it off, you'll feel better then. Welcome to the process of making B-roll. Let's come and get at the other end of this tunnel. Where is the other end of the tunnel? Oh, over there. Sneaky. Where we go. Let's sit up here at this grade crossing. We'll see it come out of the tunnel. We should see the gates go down. We get this right. There's no bush in the way. That'll do. That would have been a classic thing to run as a safety film then. Are we at Doris by any chance? Whoops, we are. Whoa, maximum brakes. Maximum brakes. It'll stop. Eventually.
Oh well.
And red signal. Bam.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna stop.
No, no, even with tripping the PCS. Well, we're not doing that again. I should have saved that before I come out of the tunnel. But that's life, isn't it? Oh well, after that dramatic failure.
Achievement. That's cool.
Yeah. 0 XP gained. Yes. Perfect. Alright, let's go back and just have a quick look at what else there is. Are there any standard scenarios with this route? I hadn't actually looked. No, there's not. Doesn't turn up in my list. Okay, so career-wise, I think we had a quick look before, but...
I don't think there is. No, I looked.
Yeah, career-wise, there's 7 scenarios. So there's Portland Trailers, which we played before. There is part 2, which I can only assume is taking you the rest of the way. Yeah, it looks like it. Andesite to Klamath Falls, so that's rather a long one. 105 minutes, it's a pretty long stint. Then there's the Westbound Winter, part 1 and part 2, which is probably remarkably like the other one, except I'm guessing it's going down the hill and it's in the snow. Probably a pretty good guess. And guess what? This is not coming back. Okay, they've both got the same description. I reckon one's probably going there and the other one's coming back. And then there's the Roadville Medford Manifest from Dunsmuir to Blackboot, or Blackbutt, however you say it. And it's Siskiyou bound. Anyway, that's been it for this one. That's probably up about good enough for time anyway. It's about an hour over, actually. So that's all good. And apologies for the spad. Uh-oh. Anyway, lots of fun. I will see everybody next week. Let me just have a quick check and see what actually is next week, because I can't remember. Because I'm clever. And there's potentially some stuff that's on the verge of release. You keep seeing hints for Creators Club and stuff, for example, in the stream. So if that comes up, we'll have a look at it, of course. But what have we got coming up? So schedule-wise, we've got... Come on, YouTube. Tell me. We have... Ah, yeah, the Boston one that I keep postponing. Boston, let's go all the way. So that will be a MTBA FP40, and we're going to run all the way from Boston to Providence, because stopping all stations, because I've never done it. And I keep putting it off, because other stuff keeps happening. But that'll be next week. Just like it's been next week every other time it's been up, and gets put off because something more interesting happens. But that's okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and those of you who popped in and out, thanks for coming back and having a look. And we'll have some fun next week. And in the meantime, see you on the forums and other places. Enjoy yourselves. Bye now. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I always like to get your feedback in the form of likes and comments, because they help me understand what you want. Give the channel a subscribe and click on the tinkly things so you don't miss out on any new stuff. And thanks for your ongoing support. And please, be safe out there.